Welcome to The Problem with Video, where I find one small minute thing, turn an entire video out of it, and nitpick the heck out of it. Because I want to talk positively about something, but no one clicks the things I love about videos. You only click the problem with video, so I gotta find a problem with, and today we're gonna find the problem with DC Comics. Wow, that coffee's hitting me real fast and hard right now. Anyway, so today we're gonna talk about DC Comics and their current initiative known as the Dawn of DC. What is the Dawn of DC, Benny, and why is your voice cracking? Well, it's 8 a.m. and coffee's kicking in and my voice is waking up. Deal with it. Or we can say I'm going through puberty. Your call. Anyway, today we're doing the Dawn of DC, and what is it is what I want to start with. The Dawn of DC is being marketed as an initiative relaunch. What is that? Well, in order to understand what is going on, you need to understand what a hard and soft reset are. A hard reset, in the terms of comic books, movies, and everything, is a full-blown reboot, okay? Now, in the world of comics, the best example of that would be the New 52. In 2011, DC Comics decided to start over, give you Batman #1, Superman #1, Green Lantern #1. And we're going to ignore the fact that it wasn't a true hard reset because certain characters kept going and certain storylines didn't stop. We're going to ignore that for the sake of this argument and just call New 52 a full-blown hard reset. A soft reset is something along the lines of like DC Rebirth, where prior continuity remains, but all of the comics are going to act and pretend everything just restarted. That is the most common thing in comic books. In the world of DC, it would be DCU, where they decided to do things like make robot Batman and powerless Superman. Or DC Rebirth, where they decided to say, hey, all of New 52's continuity is weird. We're going to fix it. Or Infinite Frontier. Or Dawn of DC. We'll come back to Dawn of DC. I want to give you a few other fun examples. Marvel loves to do this as well with things like all new, all different Marvel. But it also exists in other mediums. Situations like the Transformers. Did you watch Bumblebee or the Rise of the Beasts? I did. They're amazing. Those are considered reboots, but they're not true reboots. They're happening before the existing continuity, making them soft reboots. Fresh jumping on points, but if you happen to have watched all the previous movies, they're all still kind of there if we want them to be. It's a weird situation in multimedia in which basically the company wants you to feel like it's a fresh jumping on point, but they also don't want to piss off all the prior fans who have been following the continuity. They want to let the people like me go, oh my God. So in this scene, the reason why Aragorn is yelling is because he actually kicked the helmet and he broke his toe. I just needed to let you know that, wifey who's never watched Lord of the Rings. Fun fact, she told me that. She's the Lord of the Rings fan, but we are watching the Fast and the Furious franchise, and I can't help myself as we're going through it, being like, okay, watch this fight sequence. You see how Vin Diesel and The Rock are punching each other equally? Yeah, that's like a math that they came up with to ensure that nobody can win. Anyway, we all do it. We're all nerds. We all want to act like we're superior in some form of what's going on. And that's the point of doing a soft reboot. I can sit here and be like, well, guys, I read Infinite Frontier. Did you know that Darkseid came back and no one gave a shit? Yeah, see, I can do that and you can go, yeah, we don't give a shit. What's Dawn of DC, Benny? All right, back to the topic on hand, Dawn of DC. So Dawn of DC came out, and I was excited, as many of you were. We all looked at it as being DC Rebirth. When DC Rebirth came out, the reason why it was such a big deal is every month we were getting like 5 to 6 to 7 issues. Now, this is off my memory, so it might not be exact numbers, but we were getting a lot of comics. It was, Flash #1. It was Batman #1. It was great. It was brand new jumping on points, but if you happen to have read New 52, you knew the continuity. So you got to be that superior nerd over everyone jumping on board. But DC Rebirth was just great. It was fresh, it was new, but it was not at the same time. And we were finally answering the questions of things like, what does Dr. Manhattan have to do with things? How were the Watchmen involved? And where has Wally West been? If you don't know, long story short, at 2020, right before COVID, DC was going to do a movement known as the 5G movement, in which they were going to do an entire storyline, and I'll link it down below because it leaked, in which eventually Batman and Superman were going to die and there would be a brand new regime. The guy who was trying to push this initiative got fired, or he stepped down because they wouldn't let him do it. It's kind of up in the air. It doesn't really matter. It's Dan DiDio, the guy that everyone loved to blame for 20 years for all of the changes happening to the DC universe. He left. That left DC in a weird spot because they didn't have proper a leadership, the big dog, the editor who decided what is going on in DC. On top of that, WB was going through bankruptcies and having no money, and they were being sold off left and right. And during that, they just kept firing people from various divisions. A lot of rumors started going around that WB was looking to sell DC Comics and stuff along those lines. None of that was ever confirmed nor denied, but a lot of these rumors started going around. And it didn't help that you would, wake up and get news reports that DC just laid off another 100 people on the staff, that DC shut down their marketing department, that DC shut down the shops department. A bunch of stuff was going on. Well, what do you do when you're making comic books during this period and you have no initiative? You grab whatever remains and you clamor it together so that you can have something coming out and you're still at least making money. That was basically Infinite Frontier. Infinite Frontier was the remnants of what we assume was probably 5G. Some kind of something to put out. So that left us with DC in a weird spot for 2020, 2021, and 2022. Yes, I know we had the death metal event, but if you look into the interviews that happened with Scott Snyder at this period, Scott Snyder stated that death metal was supposed to be like a 6-issue spread, and if you were reading DC Comics at the time, it turned into like 30 crossovers. This was a part of the same deal. They were trying to delay jumping into the Infinite Frontier, and they had no initiatives going on. So Dawn of DC was supposed to become a fresh reboot. It's going to be brand new comics, and I made a video about it here on the channel, being like, the reboot is happening. And that's the first problem. This is not a DC Rebirth style reboot. We're not getting 5 to 6 issues per month of brand new lines starting up. I mean, they've barely announced the creative teams that are attached to these, and they're coming out like one a month. This is the slowest thing DC has ever done. For if you don't know, we have Action Comics, which is all about the Superman family and how they're dealing with issues. Right now, they're battling against Metallo, and I believe it's written by Joshua Williamson. Superman, the mainline book, came out. It's all about Superman teaming up with Lex Luthor in the new Super Corps. Both of these are amazing books. I believe this one's also written by Joshua Williamson. March, that was January and February. March started up the adventures of Superman John Kent, written by Tom Taylor, in which John Kent gets lost in the multiverse and ends up in the Injustice universe. Also amazing. Unstoppable Doom Patrol also came out in that month, and it's amazing. You gotta like the Doom Patrol, so I'm not like recommending it if you're not a fan of the Doom Patrol. Then we also saw Harley Quinn. Issue 28 picked up as a Dawn of DC initiative, starting a brand new storyline. April kicked off Green Arrow #1, answering what happened to Green Arrow once he finally died and where the family was going to find him. Then we also got Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow. The fan favorite Superboy from the 90s, what has he been doing? And how can he fit into this new world? Then we got into May. If you haven't noticed, I have named off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 comics. In 4 months, we had 7 of these relaunches. 7. Only 7. 7. That's 5. 7. And this brought us into May, where Batman restarted. Kind of. Batman Brave and the Bold is just Batman Urban Legends. It's a series of storylines pseudo-related to Batman in an anthology book, which is what Urban Legends was. It's just rebooted with the Brave and the Bold name since everyone's looking for that thanks to James Gunn. And then we had Cyborg #1, in which Cyborg's father dies and then he gets downloaded as an AI into his brain. The story's really good. I'm not a fan of the artwork on that one. And then Shazam #1. I didn't read that, and apparently none of you did either. And we have Steelworks. Steelworks is about Henry Steel, and the big thing is, right now, Dawn of DC, we are 6 months in, and we basically only have Superman stories. Not terrible. I would prefer them to move faster. Oh, you know what's weird on this list that I'm looking at? Green Lantern also came out, and that is not on the list, but Green Lantern came out and is telling the story about Hal Jordan going back to Coast City, getting his powers. If I missed any other titles, I'm looking at the original list, and I feel like there may be 1 or 2 more, but nothing crazy. I know Catwoman has the Dawn of DC label on it. I picked it up being like, ooh, a fresh jumping on point for Catwoman. It's part 5. If you open it up, it says whatever the storyline is, part 5. What? So it's the jumping on point, but I got to go get the last 4 issues. And that's what I'm getting at. They don't seem like they made a big deal about the Dawn of DC was going to be this fresh take, this initiative jump on. This is going to be how you can start watching or reading DC Comics. Everyone come back to DC. It's a fresh jumping on point. We've done this a few times. You guys loved it. But it's not. If you like Superman, it's a fresh start for Superman. which he kind of needed after after all the just everyone not liking the Brian Michael Bendis run. Not everyone. I know there's always this one guy who's like, I liked Superman. I get it. You liked it. The sales say the rest of us didn't. Anyway, it's a good jumping on point for Superman. Hal Jordan, I love this reboot for Hal Jordan. I'm loving it right now. Flash just started. No, it didn't start. The final issue of the last run just went out. I was trying to think if the new one started up yet. It has not. It's good. It's fun, but it's not like, here's a bunch of books. Go buy Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman. I don't think Wonder Woman's even restarted yet. They're trying, like when we did DC Rebirth, everything stopped to reboot. But instead, this time, they're slowly rebooting the storylines and letting the previous ones end. And I feel like that's killing the DC Comics hype. Why should I care? What's the, like, they said that there's a big overarching storyline involving Brainiac by the end of the year. Is it just going to involve the Super Family? I mean, that kind of makes sense because Brainiac's a Superman villain. But how is that a big overarching event? I don't get it. It's weird. It is really weird. And there's no hype for this. There's no excitement for it. There's not like every week where I'm like, oh man, the Flash just came out, and what's going on with Zatanna? Zatanna one came out. Like DC Rebirth was exciting because you enjoyed the main core books that all came out in a hurry, and then they would do all these fun side books. Like, do you guys remember Justice League Dark? That was a Justice League that was a Rebirth book. Or Justice League Odyssey, that was a Rebirth book. Do you remember Jessica Cruz Green Lantern and Simon Baz, that the two Green Lanterns that everyone seems to have forgotten exist? That was a Rebirth book. Rebirth was this was lined up to be like Rebirth, and it feels like instead of coming in with a parade announcing all of DC, they just showed up with like 3 dudes and they're all wearing a Superman shirt. And then there's that one guy that's like late to the party with a Green Arrow shirt. Guys, I'm here too! Green Arrow! You know, like, I don't know what's going on. But it's not even the biggest problem. Because I wouldn't make a video about Dawn of DC being slow. Because that's not great, but it's not bad. It's just slow, right? Night Terrors. Okay, so Marvel and DC normally did their events separately. DC traditionally didn't do line-wide events. They would do a lot of events that were self-contained to the superhero, and they would incorporate a few other books. We did get a few line-wide events, and they have done testing with it, like Death Metal and Dark Metal and all these kinds of things. But if you remember, Death Metal was all Death Metal because that was during the we had nothing else to put out period. But if you remember the original Metal book, there was regular books still coming out. They weren't doing everything. They didn't stop the line. Secret Wars over at Marvel is an incredible book. It's an incredible story. The big problem a lot of people have with it is that it killed so many storylines to stop them mid-story to do Battle World. And DC is doing that. We are just getting our footing into the dawn of DC. We have a bunch of super books. We have a Cyborg, a Shazam, a Green Arrow, one Batman anthology book, and all of them are going on hold. The Penguin #1 and Steelworks #1, we will get issue 2, I think September. July and August, every book is going to stop so that they can do issues 1 and 2 of things like Batman, Night Terrors, Green Lantern, Night Terrors, Robin, Night Terrors. So they're going to give you all the titles that are going to be a part of Dawn of DC, but they're all going to be flagged as Night Terrors. And now you're probably going, okay, I get it. You said Night Terrors like 8 times. If you took shots during that, oh God, you're done. Sorry, don't do that. What is Night Terrors? It's the summer horror event. And now when I say that, you're probably like, a summer horror event? What? Yeah, it's a summer horror event. They are getting attacked by someone who is attacking them in their nightmares. So 2 issues are going to be called Night Terrors Batman, Night Terrors Robin, and it's going to be a 2-issue storyline in which they battle something within their nightmares. Now, the very concept of this sounds like an amazing Halloween event, not a summer event. And since it's going to be in their nightmares, it doesn't sound like it's going to be having very many effects on the overarching storylines that are going on. The way that this sounds like, it's going to be a fun July and August event that's going to put everything on hold. Everything on hold. We are just getting our footing with the dawn of DC that seems to have come out with a sputter. Like if you look at DC Rebirth, it came roaring in with the engine on. You ever wake up in the morning and you got that one just jerk that comes roaring down your street with like his F-150 at max V8 growing crazy, and you're like, dude, it's 6:30. That was DC Rebirth. You ever see one of those cars that's like a shrunken version of a car, and it's like half electric and it makes no noise. Yeah, that's Donna DC. And that's where I think we're at right now, because Donna DC is still trying to charge up and get going. And in the middle of it, a bullet train came through and ran over the car called Night Terrors, the summer horror event. Like, I don't understand why this was decided unless they're just trying to stall further. Where they're like, okay, we got to get people in here. We need new management. Like, they just announced Jim Lee is finally in charge of DC Comics. I believe that was in May. So they literally only got their new CEO in charge 2 months ago. So I kind of get why they're doing this. They're trying to keep us excited about DC while slowly getting out the relaunch, while slowly restaffing the company. But from a marketing perspective, from a guy who runs pretty much a marketing arm of everything that I cover over here, that just sounds like a terrible idea. If anything, I would have preferred them to just keep going slowly and leave Night Terrors to be a Halloween event. Like, at least then it like mentally would make sense to me. Do something else in the summer. Do some kind of big lambastic crossover there if you're going to do something. Why do a series? It reminds me of Convergence. If you didn't know what Convergence was, Convergence happened around 2014 to 2015, I think. And the idea is that the entire universe got trapped by Brainiac. Was it a Brainiac again? He trapped every world in a bottle. And instead of doing any of the stories that were happening, we stopped them all. And we did 2-issue storylines of a bunch of ideas. Now, the reasoning for that was DC was moving from New York to California. So they didn't want to deal with any publishing arm. So for the 2-month period that they were moving, they just did these short stories. That works. That was an idea. And Convergence tied into the overarching events, because I believe it loosely tied into the Rebirth launch. I don't fully remember, but there was some lasting effects with it. Night Terrors just feels like a stopgap. Like, okay, hold on. We don't really have that much. Just do a couple fun horror stories right here in the middle of the whole thing. Like, we'll just do that. But that's the problem with Donna DC. At this point, I feel like I'm just going to ramble and repeat myself over and over and over. But it's just going slow. It's awesome. This is the first time I've been excited about a Superman book since like Tomasi was doing it, I think in 2018. This is the first time that I've really enjoyed reading a Superboy Man of Tomorrow book. The new Hal Jordan is the Green Lantern. Quiet, Fang, you're not on this episode. The new Green Lantern book is what I wanted Green Lantern to be like 3 years ago when they were trying all different things. This is what I wanted DC to be going back to. I just don't want my hype to be lost for an event that I don't know if I'm going to care about. The covers are cool, though. I'll say that. I like the covers. But what do you guys think about this? Donna DC, we've gotten 6 months in, and we're doing this. So let me know your thoughts down below. Like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next week for another problem with right here at Comicstorian.